back. Alrighty, folks, welcome to the live What the Futures podcast update here. We're going to talk about Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, and the Crop Marketing Made Cool conference, of course, back in the UPL studio, off of the UPL stage, now in the UPL studio. Yvonne joining me, Yvonne Kuchta joining me in this week's live episode. Yvonne, how is your Wednesday going?
It is going really good. I did everything outside and I don't plan on leaving again. It is a whiteout out there. And I saw the roads on Facebook in Saskatchewan, and I'm glad we're not in Moose Jaw this week.
I just saw grain elevators saying they were shutting down early. I saw the food bank in Moose Jaw was sending folks home early as well. So I didn't see the actual pictures, but yeah, snowing here as well, and happy that I just had to commute from Garage 1 to Garage 2 for today's recording. So we haven't chatted since the conference. We've been talking about Moose Jaw for a year, and I thought it would be fun to just do a recap live on YouTube, live on X. If you were at the event, please put your comments in the chat here. I will attempt to look for them later. But I thought it'd be fun just to go over the raw review of Moose Jaw. So you've had a few days to recover, to recoup. What comes to mind when you think about last week?
Well, you're right. This is pretty raw because we have not talked since Moose Jaw, which was probably a good mental break for both of us. But
yeah,
on the way home, on the long drive home, Rob, my husband, came, which was so nice, basically to be my chauffeur, which I appreciated. And I said, oh, Ryan's going to want to debrief this after. And so I made some notes of some really funny stories. But one that I thought that, the farm community, which I think sometimes we can be scroungers, everybody would appreciate, is we stopped and it was like -30 for a bathroom break on the side of the road. Of course, our son was with us, and we found a brand new shock in the box, like a big shock that like certainly you could get used somewhere on the farm. And and so we were like, man, the perks of driving to and from Saskatchewan, it kind of like eased the long journey. So that was a fun moment just we had to capture.
Like a shock for like a vehicle or something? Like
even bigger, like that you might like off of a tractor door or something, like a really big shock.
All right. Okay. If someone's missing a shock, reach out to Yvonne.
Yeah, hit us up. Yeah, but no, the conference, it was different than in Drumheller, and I felt it, and it was interesting talking to some of the guests who came up and shared who'd been there, last year and this year. And it was Rachel who said to me, like, there was such an urgency, for them as they drove home to like get their crop marketing sorted out. And we got to dial this in. And part of that was maybe, part of that was them, and probably part of it was us. This year was different. Something felt different. The information shared was like so tangible and important, but also the energy of the whole conference had this strong community vibe to it. And for me, that was undeniable. Like I don't come from the grain farming community. I come from the feedlot community. So like, I don't have history with these people, but after these few events that we've done, there just seemed to be so much more, like emotional community and support at this year's conference. And that really stood out to me.
Yeah, I think community is just a good way to summarize it as well. Like the people in the room, the conversations, the learnings from each other. Like 2/3 of that room was, pardon me, was did not attend Drumheller, and you like you couldn't have even really known that. Like it just seemed like everyone had known each other for such a long time. So I think you're referencing Dwayne and Rochelle as well. And I know last year, not to speak for them, but they kind of left. The comment I got was that a lot of this was on Dwayne leading into Drumheller, but leaving they were unified and together working on their farms plan and their crop marketing plan, and then to see them have that full year, another conference, and then to walk in with the confidence and then continue to
Yeah.
leave and learn, right? So,
Yeah, and
so
she
that's
said they
that's
just
cool.
left feeling so much more refreshed, like not like,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, we're behind the eight ball. Like, okay, we're doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was
I
awesome.
so there's like two community moments for me, like right off the start. So before we start the event, the Lunchbox crew guys, I did a little market update for them, and we had a couple of beverages and just were, hanging out for a little bit. And within that hour, uh, Pete Pete is there and Ron is there. Ron accidentally booked his room at a different hotel, or I should say, his wife booked at a different hotel. There's a little bit of tension there, but anyways,
Delete,
Pete,
delete.
yeah, Pete has a newborn baby and lives in Regina. So Pete's like, I really just want to get home after the conference to go and help my wife with the new baby. And so by the time that hour was done, Ron was staying at the hotel. Pete using Pete's room. Pete was happy to be going to home to the baby every night, and Ron
Yeah.
was happy to be in the action. So there was that. Then the second thing, Tuesday night, some folks went to karaoke allegedly, and so
Video
I
footage of that? I never saw any video footage.
there's a picture too, but I don't think any video. Everyone was very respectful. Um, and so these guys are all sitting together, and it's like the guys from, like, I would call them like Rosetown area. I think Will and Ryan are sitting in there. And then you've got the Smoky Lake guys. There's others too, but they're all chatting. I'm like, how do you guys all know each other again? They're like, from Drumheller. I'm like, oh, right, right. But just, seeing each other after a year, getting into it a
Yeah.
little bit on Tuesday night. And it was funny. I think there was one other connection there too, but it was just funny because that again, that goes back to the community. So yeah.
Yeah, and Rosie's, we went to Rosie's on Thursday night after the conference like came down in like 10 minutes. It was incredible.
Just-
Like the family
yeah.
helped us.
Yeah. The family, the roadie crew teared it down in a hurry. Yeah.
And then we go to Rosie's. I'd heard about Rosie's in Moose Jaw, like as being this great restaurant. And I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, we got to go. And my family was like, are you crazy? It's so cold out. I'm like, I haven't been outside really in 3 days. Like, we're walking. I need some fresh air. I need some sunshine. There was no
Yeah.
sunshine. But anyway, we made it to Rosie's. And I was like, that was a dumb idea. We should have drove. But we go into Rosie's and it's all people from the conference eating and,
Oh, yeah.
catching up and also carrying on the conversations. And then we go back and the spring, like the pool is awesome. Like if you've never been to Moose
Mhm.
Jaw, like you got to go. I mean, I love hot springs, but it was great. So we go
Yep.
back to the pool and everybody's in the pool, right? And so I got to catch up with Suzanne and Sarah and your mom and dad. And so it was that is something really special. And on that note, my husband, who doesn't farm at all, he caught a couple of the sessions. And, that was interesting that there were so many takeaways, general business, decision-making, succession
Yep.
planning, mental health, that it wouldn't even matter if you weren't a serious grain farmer. If you went to this, there was so much value. And he said that. He said, like, he didn't think that he would find anything interesting or whatever. And he there were so many things great discussions we had on the way home because the speakers were just, what they brought was a high
Mhm.
level of expertise and you could apply that to other businesses.
I would say, like, coming across in the commentary as well, like from the surveys, like there was a lot of everyone had like a different favorite. And so to me that also like resonates as like we had the right people, the right speakers in the room. But it's a challenge when you're thinking about who to invite to a crop marketing conference. And then the moment you step away from crop marketing and you're like, oh no, like if I throw this, Ryan Coppathorn in the mix to talk about hedging cattle, like is that going to be a big miss on my end? And of course not. Ryan's sessions were well attended, and in fact, the gentleman I spoke to today said that was one of his biggest takeaways was about hedging his cattle and on his cattle operation. So I'm like, all right, so we got that, and then you throw in something around succession or the guys over at 337 or even Derek's farmer experience. Like, it's not crop marketing, like here's a strategy of like you need to execute this, but yet there's so much to learn from these great people that it's going to help or influence your farm business. So yes, it's about crop marketing, but yet you try to mix in a few other ones and try to round it out to just a nice event. And I feel like that was a good accomplishment on our end.
I agree. And in fact, I wore my Hockey Hall of Fame shirt kind of in your honor, Ryan, because I know you're a hockey guy. But I was like, well, what am I going to wear on Ryan's podcast? And I know you're always a fan of like wearing what you're comfortable in. And I think that I got that comment from people. I love that this wasn't like, we had to look a certain way. People would just come and be relaxed. But I wore my Hockey Hall of Fame shirt because I was thinking it really felt like, an agriculture like Hall of Fame lineup of speakers this year. And maybe it will always feel like that, but it was just like really high level. And I was like, man, if there was a crop marketing Hall of Fame, maybe we have to do that, set that up, because that's kind of what it felt like.
Well, I tried to throw Kossel into the Hall of Fame early on Tuesday night, but we got some good cheers. But I got a lot of respect for some of the folks that if there was a Hall of Fame, they'd be in there, and Kossel's definitely one of them. So, if he's retired or not, I don't know officially, but the way it sounds, I'm getting a lot of people asking, and he did a great job for a couple decades. So anyways, I thought the Hockey Hall of Fame would be a nod to Brandon's hockey theme as well. I guess it works for both, eh?
There you go.
I'm still wearing my Saskatchewan gear that I picked up. This was from Prairie Print House in Saskatoon. I got some stuff from them. And then this hat I bought at Close Encounter because I think I said this before, traveling, I'm not going to really pack much for clothing because this one great store was supposed to be open when I got there, and they weren't. Open every day 9 to 5, except for that day that I needed to buy a couple t-shirts. But Close Encounter got me, they're right across the street from Temple Garden Spa, and they got me hooked up. So I'm still rocking this, and it's Wednesday. I've been home since midnight last Thursday, and the truck is still completely packed from everything from Moose Jaw and hasn't moved. It's just sitting in the garage. So I think I need to do it tonight because car seats have to go in for tomorrow morning. So I definitely got to do it tonight. But yeah.
But also, way to go, because those events, they take a lot out of you, and if you don't sort of take a break, what do they say? Like, lack of sleep and stress is cumulative. Like, you have to rest from it. So, that was like pushing through harvest and taking a few days rest. So that's important too.
Yeah, I think so we're wrap up Thursday. The crew, everyone, I went upstairs to pack my bags because I'm like, you know what? I really want to get home. And so I'm like, I'll go pack my bags. I'll come downstairs and I'll just see what's going on. I come downstairs. My truck is started, warmed up, loaded up. My brother is putting the last strap of in the truck, securing everything. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going for it. Like I'm going home. And everyone, my parents are like, don't do this. You're nuts. Everyone's like, this is crazy. And I'm like, okay, guys, we'll just take a step back here. Like, the worst highways are in the first 2 hours of the drive in daylight. And then after that, my scouts were ahead of me traveling back to Alberta. Everything was really good on the highways, and the temperatures were just going to get colder. By the time I hit Lloydminster, it was only minus 24 in Lloydminster. By the time I got home, I think it was minus 30. But, it's minus 30 when you guys left the next morning. So
it's true. Yeah. I can't believe you said only minus 24. Well, I did unpack some stuff, Ryan, and I flagged. So we did these cool postcards, and I want to share some of these because some of them are pretty funny. and they're just so awesome. Like this is like my favorite part. This is the after perk. Like you feel like, anyways. So we did these postcards, and we have people fill out something on the postcard, and then we mail it to somebody else. So that's the context. Reading them, it feels like an inside look into people's minds at the conference because they're sharing something totally anonymously. We have no idea who's written what. And we're going to send it to somebody else sometime in the summer. And so I flagged a couple comments. So I'm going to read some of those. Okay.
Sure.
So here's one that I loved because I think this was a common theme. There are more people than you think facing the same challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So this idea that this group of producers comes together and realizes like they're not the only ones struggling with whatever it is, whether that's crops or grain or selling or whatever it is. And I think that's a real benefit of the conference is that awareness.
A room of people going through the same markets, the same weather, the same economics. Yeah, that's a big one. You're not alone.
And then this other one says, don't market your grain based on how your local area looks. Keep in mind world markets. And you brought in 2 speakers from the States. And I think that was really a profound message this year.
Yeah, when Stephen Nicholson from Rabobank gets on stage and starts highlighting the production that the globe, what we produced in 2025, like there were no misses out there from a production standpoint. So to have him come on stage and highlight that and some of the things to look for around that was big. And then Susan Stroud from Noble Ag, like again, I'm sitting in the lobby in Drumheller booking speakers for Moose Jaw, and she responded right away, and we had everything tidied up before I left Drumheller, and she was going to talk about biofuel policy. I didn't think in a year, like, would that even matter? And it mattered today. Like it's mattered this week, in how it's impacting our market. So yeah, the challenge for next year is figure out who to bring in from a global perspective in Brandon. So yeah.
And Susan almost didn't get home. That's kind of a fun story. So we book her a cab to go from Moose Jaw back to Regina. And then the cab company's like to catch her flight, like at 2 a.m.
Oh yeah.
And the cab company's like, well, there's a blizzard coming. And so if the driver deems it's not safe, like we won't go. And I'm like, okay, then what do we do? Right? Like,
yeah. Who's plan B and plan C? And is it you or I that's going to be driving to Regina at 2 a.m?
Yeah. Fun stuff. I like this one too. Remember, during challenging times, you were born for such a time as this. You are capable of the solution. And I think there was a number of speakers who really brought sort of that inspiration of resiliency, Derek and Darren and Deb, all the Ds. That was a really strong feeling through the conference.
Yeah, I think I said on stage on day 2 at some point about, like, we're all sitting here, we're all talking about a tough environment, a tough economic environment for Western Canadian farms, a tough pricing environment, but yet nobody presenting here is rooting for that. Everyone wants higher prices and wants this to get better, but in the meantime, let's do the best we can in this current environment. You still need to do that. And I think that was a theme that definitely kind of shone through for me. Is this might be bad, but nobody up here out of the 15 speakers, we all want better. We want it to get better and we want it to improve as fast as possible. But in the meantime, this is what we can work on. So, yeah.
Don't let your wife go shopping in Moose Jaw.
The shopping. Hey, like I hit up Close Encounter. I did grab some maple syrup as well, from the Capone hangout there, the hideout. But the shopping is legit. Like, you don't go to Moose Jaw just for the spa. Like, if you want some nice clothes and stuff, like I bought some jeans, this hat, I got some nice pieces. So yeah.
I agree. And then this one is an inside joke. If you're at the conference, you'll get this. If you weren't there, you're gonna have to come, ask us. But don't get a honey badger as a pet.
Nice.
Yeah. And what else we got here? And then here's a really practical one. We'll end on that one. Understand your grain contracts and double check within 7 days of delivery. I mean, solid advice, right?
Yeah. I think both Suzanne and Sarah's presentations there, that came up a lot in the survey results, like just some of those tangibles, things you have to look for, things you have to watch for, and just some real takeaways. Just focus on this and do this. Like, yeah, those are very practical, like important sessions, and farms got a lot out of that. So that was cool.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. And then the tunnel tours, we haven't talked about the tunnel tours, but that was fun. I had never been underground in Moose Jaw, and my family actually went on all 3 tours. Of course, the group went on the Al Capone one. And yeah, rave reviews about that whole experience. Like, Moose Jaw has done well for themselves to create such a tourist attraction.
Yeah, it really well done. And like I don't know when you'd go back in your emails to see when you had first contact with Bobby, but like Bobby just with that organization, just a true leader in the downtown community there, and put a lot of wheels in motion for us with certain organizations and businesses. And like it shone through in that experience, but having that local person, that true promoter of the downtown core was special as well.
Yeah, you bet.
So in one of the survey results, so we had, of course, we're chatting before the event, and we're like, okay, well, we're doing tunnel tours. Do people know what that really is? And so the idea popped up of having some of the actors from the tunnel tour like come into the conference and do a quick spiel. So we're trying to figure out how to pull that off and what that would look like. And the standard conference would say, well, let's just 9:05 agenda, have them up there and talk for 5 minutes about the conference. We decided to do things a little differently. We had a poker game set up, and apparently we didn't pay the right people in town. The police chief, we thought, was the guy. So have this great game organized, and then these 2 wise guys burst into the scene here. And Yvonne, I'm on stage, panicking a little bit, but from your vantage point, what did you see going on?
Oh, it was awesome. That was a highlight moment for sure. So the conference, so everybody's pretty like focused on you on the stage with their poker hands, trying to figure out like, are they winning or not?
What do I got?
Drawing
Yeah.
cards.
Yeah.
And then these guys come in and they are like not impressed with the poker game. And I think it kind of caught everybody like by surprise, because they were pretty intense and they were going around like, what are you guys doing? This isn't your town. This isn't a sanctioned game.
Yeah, not a sanctioned game. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was awesome and kind of shaking people up. And I think it set it set the vibe for the evening. And when you do the tunnel tours, everyone's in character, and they're in character. You don't mess around in Moose Jaw. And so it was just so nice to have the conference and have the fun piece. And I think you work really hard at, and I think that's part of like your core, is that you value fun and find the joy in life. And you brought that to the conference. And I think that's why people enjoy the experience.
Well, I think you said experience, right? Like again, the people I've been chatting with the last couple days, and we had similar vibes coming out of Drumheller too. But like, I chatted with one gentleman this morning, and he's like, I've been to so many conferences, and he's like, without a doubt, this miles above anything is the best conference I've ever been to. And he's like, I was at a couple conferences already this winter, and I got more of that on the agenda. And like, he's like, I just so far above and beyond, which, like, as much as I know, I joked about on the podcast a few weeks ago, but like I think I joked about waking up in the middle of the night. Like, did we order the thong underwear along with the briefs? Um, but that's what stresses me out at the end is like the little things of did
Mm.
we get all this right? Did we get everything we wanted as a goal, as a vision? Have we put ourselves in a position to execute? And then as it
Mhm.
happens and you see it unfold, it's like, all right, it's coming, it's happening, and it feels good. But that's the stressful part. Um,
And not
trying to
everything lands, right? Like not
oh no.
I was laughing. Do I have it here? Oh yeah. I was laughing because one of I think this was my big idea that didn't land was to have huge decks of cards. And I was like, Ryan, we're gonna have huge decks of cards. And I was thinking they would be like 3 feet tall. I'm like, I found them on Timu, and we'll
Yeah.
have this, stack them up. And anyways, I get my deck of cards from Timu. It's that big, right? Like they were
Not
not
three
as
feet, eh?
advertised.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes we have lots of ideas and they don't all work out. And I think it's the law of averages, right? Like, hey,
Yeah.
as long as there was more good happening than not, then we're on our way.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, that was funny when those showed up because I was convinced those were going to be like 3, 4, 5 feet tall as well.
Yeah,
So
for
that was
sure.
good. Yeah, you always get those little hiccups. I know weather was a challenge. Everyone sharpened up their driving skills and stuff like that heading into Moose Jaw, but it's winter across the prairies. It kind of is what it is. Um, but yeah,
I'm
it was
flying to
great.
Brandon though.
Yeah, yeah. I had a few people ask, "Are you chartering a plane to Brandon?" And I said, "We are looking into it." So yes, we are looking into it.
Who's
But
we? Are you we or am I we?
it just so far it's just me until the budget gets sorted out, and then it'll be involve you, and then it'll involve Mark when we want to wrap it. Like the
Yeah.
crop marketing made cool plane, then he'll have to get
Ooh,
involved as well. So yeah,
I like that. Crop
yeah.
marketing made cool playing. But unhinged, Ryan. Like everybody's like unhinged. I think some people thought you were unhinged already. And
Yeah.
so
I I view like two things with Unhinged. Like, um, I think it gets more intense from a farm business perspective. So I do think it gets more intense over the next 12 months. So Unhinged to me is just more about passion and like and resilience and how deep we're gonna have to dig here in the next year or two. Like I think it gets harder. And so every decision I make from a consulting or farm business standpoint is just based around, at least for the next while, that in 3 months it's going to be a little bit harder, or in 6 months it's going to be even harder than that. It's just the trend that we're in, and yeah. So I think Unhinged for me is kind of the intensity, but also, did you ever go into like, did you ever get to go into like your school like on a weekend or after hours when like all the lights were turned off and you just got to goof around?
yeah.
Like the Keystone Center, if I'm saying it correctly, in Brandon, is like a giant indoor playground. Like there is a hockey rink, the Brandon Wheat Kings hockey rink. There is the curling rink. There is we could run a like a cattle show through there while we're there. Like there's barns. Like to like the for an indoor activity, the sky's the limit. So I think a few of those things are going to be a bit unhinged when they come together. So yeah,
Yeah. I think so. I think so.
I know for myself, the agenda. I told somebody today the agenda for next year is like 75% baked already. Like it's coming together quick for next year.
Awesome.
But it is going to be just a little bit more intense as well. We are going to try to fit in an extra session on the first day, so there'll be that, and then the second day, undecided on how we complete the event yet. So I just noticed, and it doesn't matter where you go to, but you get to the second. Well, you got the first night event, then the second, or the big full day. And that second day, after lunch, it's really hard to keep that energy level as high. And so I'm just tinkering with how do we, what time do we end this thing and in what way. So stay tuned for
Awesome.
that. But yeah,
Yeah, I think
that's unhinged.
the other fun thing going into year 3 is, I mean, we've got some more experience, but also we have some great partners who have creative ideas. You know,
Hmm.
the UPL, Brett Young, John Deere. These partners are like open to doing really unique things, and kudos to them because not every, you know, I've been in ag sort of marketing sponsorship for a long time, and that's not always the case. And so when you go to these events and you have these great partners who are willing to get creative and do fun things, like
Hmm.
that means a lot. So I'm excited for that too.
Yeah, it when they say a lot of yes and not very many no's, you know you're on the right path and having fun. And yeah,
Yeah.
so that's been great. Um, just to go back to Moose Jaw, so I like personally myself, like going into town, changed it up from Drumheller, went in the day before for setup. I felt really good. Like Monday night by 10 p.m., I was feeling really good. The next morning, it came together quick. I felt pretty calm and cool, and not as stressed or as much anxiety as in
Mhm.
Drumheller. So leading into the event, felt a lot better. But also like coming down is coming down. Like it is a bit of a thing. Like that Friday, I was a zombie, but at home. Um, but also the recovery was a lot faster this year. Like, did you notice a difference for yourself personally, like heading into it and then also leaving, how you felt?
Yeah, like I really well, I tell you when we did AIM this summer and drove home,
Yeah.
like I could hardly do the drive myself. Like I was by myself, but
Yeah.
that was really hard. But for me, it was so nice to, you know, and I get why you want to drive home because you have these hours in your brain to like process things. And for me to drive home, you know, with Rob and debrief, that was helpful, but the brain fog is so real. Like I was
Hmm.
decision fatigued out. Like I couldn't
Hmm.
make a decision. Like I just you can't sort of handle stimulation for a few days. Um, and then I just came home and I had 2 massages booked in 3 days.
Yeah.
Went to a yoga class every day. You know, feed yourself well, and yeah, I'm feeling like capital. Like I've been working like crazy today and yesterday, and
Hmm.
so I'm glad I'm not sick. Like I'm really grateful for that. You're not sick. That's awesome. I think we're learning how to take care of ourselves better.
That could be it. And I had some late nights. I had some later nights in Musha than I did in Drumheller. I don't think people expect like the host or the guy who's got to be on stage at 8 a.m. the next morning to also be beside them at 1 a.m.
Yeah, they don't.
But like I don't get a chance to do this very often. And still, like one of my consulting clients, a guy that I work with every week, I didn't actually lock eyes with him until supper the Wednesday night. And I was like, "When did you get here?" He's like, "I got here yesterday afternoon along with
No
everybody
way.
else." I'm like, "I This is the first time I've seen you." And he's like,
That's
and
crazy.
we're joking today. He's like, "I get to talk to you every day or week if I want. I'm not the one who's going to be bugging you there. You got lots to do and lots of people to talk to." But I thought
Yeah.
that was pretty wild. Anyway, I thought it was pretty funny. So
I feel so welcomed by your community, Ryan, because you know they're so kind, not just to me, to like they're so kind to the whole team, and yeah, you work with some pretty special people, so it feels good to be among that group.
I think to summarize it for me, and you look at the surveys and you're trying to figure out what were our weak points that we can fix and work on, and what were our strengths. But at the end of the day, what comes through time and time again is just community, and being able to sit at a table with other farmers. And even one guy said, or a couple of people said in their surveys, like just the conversations in the breaks, the conversations in the breakout rooms, the openness of the group. Like, and you got to remember, like 2/3 of the people were not with us in Drumheller. It's not like this
Yeah.
is a reunion of everybody. This is a third, past attendees and 2/3 new. But you could feel it in that room, and I had a few people tell me the room got a little bit younger as well from Drumheller to Musha, and that's not a slight against anybody that's older than me or older than 40. But I also,
Because I'm older
when
than
I
40, Ryan. So watch it.
yeah, exactly. So I was gonna say there's not much hair left up here, so like I get it, um, but also the youth in the room, like it didn't matter if it was this great young farm from Elbow, Saskatchewan, with the daughter and the two brothers and the sister-in-law, there, and professionals and eh, like have done all this stuff, but crop marketing being new to them, and even the young guys from my hometown, telling me what they like, what their favorite parts on the podcast are, or what for things for me to work on, like things for me to focus on from a knowledge perspective, and just giving me that insight that, hey, dad throws me in the tractor for 6 hours. I'm looking for something, and I'm what the futures is on the list, but you could, if you could do a bit more on the education side for us young guys, like that's the powerful stuff that comes through the week for me. And so the room got a little bit younger, but I think that is also great, and for farms to invest in the youth on the farm to come and learn from these events, and challenge themselves, educate themselves, and take away um, some meaningful steps to help the farm the next day, right? The next week. So yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because my son was there, kind of to help us and hang out, but he's 12 and he
He's
didn't
the
attend all
man.
this.
He's the
What's
man.
that?
He's our best our best setup and tear down guy. So
Yeah, yeah. And so he was the youngest guy in the room. He's 12, right? And we don't grain farm, but he's sitting there taking notes. And I did make me go, man, if you have a kid on the farm, don't be afraid to bring them. Don't be like, oh,
Mhm.
this is so over their head because you never know what they're picking up. And there was a book recommendation, I think, that came out at the conference. And like Cash can hardly read, but he came home and he was like, Mom, we have to get this book. And it was
Mm.
like about visioning and stuff. And I was like, okay, yeah, we'll get it for sure. So yeah, don't be afraid to bring younger people to the conference because that's where it starts.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw a few university kids there. I know the Froats, their daughter was there, in between exams, tough time of year, writing exams, but yeah, that's really really cool to see, and to hear. So, if you are from the Moose Jaw area, I just want to say thank you. If it's the folks at the Temple Garden Spa, Dusty and her team, Justin. If it's Alex from the Crush Can, Bobby from the Tunnel Tours, Montana with photography, Yvonne. I can't remember the bus driver's name, but his
I think it
willingness
was Rob. Yeah.
for Rob to be willing to be flexible on pickups later in the evening for folks. Like
Peekaboo limos. Yeah.
yeah, everybody was just fantastic. So, um, yeah, and one last thing, shout out to the Moose Jaw Food Bank. I did a little interview yesterday with the Moose Jaw Express, but at these events we do a silent auction. 337 UPL, Brett Young, Trigger Grain, 16 Grains. I'm missing some, but Backswath Management, everyone donated either services or gifts, and all that money raised went to the food bank. And it's like a surprise. Like you don't tell the food bank like in months in advance, we're coming and we're going to do this. You just kind of show up and say, oh, by the way, here you go. Put it to good use, and these farmers raised this money. So shout out to the food bank, and shout out to the companies that donated and the farmers that bid as well. So it was great.
Awesome. Yeah.
All right, Yvonne, any little hints for Brandon, Manitoba, December 1st and 2nd? We've got Clarenbach is confirmed. We've got DePap is confirmed. Como's confirmed. I won't say any of the others yet. So the roster is building. Crop marketing made cool. Unhinged. What stands out for you so far for next year in Brandon?
Yeah, it's gonna be totally different because yeah, it's not moose jaw, and so it's
Yep.
gonna be totally different. And there's gonna be some major we've got some major new thoughts on some swag stuff. So although the alpaca socks, I have to say, that was a top hit, and I'm enjoying them.
I don't even know what came back for swag. I know I was trying to get rid of everything, and then like yesterday, Chantel's giving me the gear. She's like, you haven't started your Christmas shopping yet," and I'm like, "I know, but don't worry. Like, I'll pull it off." I'm like, "I wonder if I have any of those socks in the truck because that would be one thing done." So, fingers crossed
I
for that
got
one.
3 decks of cards, Ryan.
All right,
Mid-sized
all right.
cards.
Yep, that's the cards we use with the seniors at the Christmas party. Those are the cards we use. So we shouldn't joke. That's actually what we use is giant playing cards. But yeah. All
Okay,
right,
well, we'll
Yvonne.
see
Well,
you in Moose Jaw then, Ryan. Or we'll see you in
no,
Brandon, I guess.
Moose Jaw wants to know when we're coming back, though. The guy from the paper is like, "Will we see you back next year?" And I'm like, "No, but I could see us coming back. Like I really could."
Yeah.
It was that good. So thanks for this candid conversation, Yvonne. Thanks for the live debrief. I had to message you when you get on. We are live, just so you know, Yvonne. This is a real live show. So thanks for doing that.
Good stuff.
All right,
See you
take care.
later.
Yeah, see ya.